This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability and a generous investment by Julianne Wrigley.
You know, one of the biggest issues of all, of course, is the raising of animals for food. The average American eats 29 or so animals a year. I mean, think about that. I mean, Dr. Wilson rescues a lot of dogs, personally. Most of us aren't capable of that sort of sacrifice and that level of commitment. But just by eating more thoughtfully, you could save 5 or 10 or 15, or if you go all the way, 29 animals a year, just by eating more or only plant-based foods. And now we have so many companies that are producing plant-based proteins that are so similar to meat in terms of their texture and their taste. They're superior in their nutritional qualities, and they don't come with the bad stuff like the hormones or the ractopamine or the other things that we feed these animals in order to keep them from getting sick in these overcrowded environments, or to accelerate or spur their growth so that they are getting to a market weight in a short period of time, and then we can slaughter them. And when you think about what we're doing to these animals on these farms, if you really kind of pull the curtain back and see what we are doing to them, you think, oh my God, this is just madness. But somehow we become socialized to accept these routine practices as acceptable. These poor laying hens in this cage, there are 6 or 8 birds in a cage. And under the industry voluntary standard, which 25% of the egg producers don't even meet, the birds get 67 square inches of space per bird. A standard 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper is 93 square inches. I mean, average copy paper, not the legal sheets, the 8.5 by 14 or 11 by 14, whatever it is. The normal size, 8.5 by 11, is 93 square inches. About that big. Each bird gets 2/3 the size of that sheet of paper to live on that amount of space for the 12 to 18 months that she's alive. It'd be like a small elevator in an office building that you've spent some time in. Think of the smallest elevator that you've ever been in. And think about 6 or 8 people in that elevator, and it's stuck. I mean, you'd go crazy after 30 minutes. Think about an hour, or think about 6 hours, think about 24 hours. Think about, well, maybe they'll push some food in front of you, once a day, maybe give you a drink of water. Think about 2 months or 6 months or a year. I mean, this is madness. Are we this miserly that that's the best we can do? Are we this uncreative that that's the best we can achieve in agricultural production? Are we this heartless to do this to these living, breathing, suffering creatures who depend on our mercy and our goodness and our decency? I mean, this is ridiculous. It should never have gotten this bad, and it should never have been the system that came to dominate U.S. egg production in the United States. So here you have a hen who, through a normal reproductive process, is producing an egg. She doesn't need to be killed, yet we're still putting them through this torment. Or think about these pigs. We have so much information about the intelligence of pigs. So many scientists have said they're at least as smart as dogs are. They have this great nose. They want to, root around in the mud. They want to search for grubs. They eat insects. They're omnivorous. They're not just this slothful creature that just lays in the mud and doesn't move. They move around. Look at wild pigs. Look at their behavior in the wild. But this is what we do to them. We take a 300 or 400 or 500 pound breeding sow and put her in a 2-foot wide crate, about as wide as my shoulders, 7 feet long. She's pretty long, 5.5, 6 feet. The only thing she can do for the 3 years, basically, that she's in the crate producing piglets is to take 1 step forward and 1 step back. I mean, they go mad. They wave their heads back and forth. They chew on the bars of the crates. I can tell you, I've been to these farms. I've been to these pig farms. I've been to these egg factories. I went to an egg factory that had 10 million birds at a complex of facilities. They were stacked 8 high. I mean, think of big cities in Arizona. I mean, there were more birds in one building than there are in the biggest cities, all crammed together. That is conventional agriculture. And yes, it's efficient. Yes, it produces cheap in terms of the cost at the supermarket, cheap eggs and cheap pork. But at what moral cost? And what cost in terms of the waste, the public health problems of antibiotic-resistant bacteria, the problems of property values dropping as this load of manure comes from all of these animals crammed in one place with untreated waste going into lagoons that pollutes the air and putrefies the water? I mean, what are the costs? The costs are so expensive when you factor all the externalities and when you have a true accounting of what's going on. The heart disease, the cancers that are associated with a diet heavy in animal product consumption with all these hormones and other products given to the animals. The good news is that finally we're breaking through. We're starting to see animals, if they're going to be raised for food, at least they're allowed to move. You know, animals with wings and legs, animals built to move, should be allowed to move. It's that basic. You know, it's not complicated animal rights theory. It's just common sense. These are living beings. And now, really, because of the work of HSUS and other groups where we've thrown back the curtain on what's happening, and we've really gotten the public stirred up about these issues, we're starting to see big change. Big companies like Nestle, the biggest food company in the world, has adopted the 5 freedoms of animal welfare. Walmart, the biggest retailer in the world that sells 25% of all groceries, has also adopted the 5 freedoms of farm animal welfare. McDonald's in September, for the 2 billion plus eggs it buys, says it's going entirely cage-free. And what's happening is an absolute revolution in the pig industry and also in the egg industry. And we have convinced all the big names, just about all the big names in food retail, whether they're fast food companies like McDonald's or Burger King, or they're food service providers like Aramark or Sodexo, or grocery chains like Bashas' or Albertsons or Safeway or Costco. They're now all starting to change their supply chains to reflect this sensibility about animals. So these are just some of the companies that have gone cage-free. Here are some others. And others. Just in the last... Almost all of these companies, just in the last 6 months, have taken this step. Again, a small step for us. A small step in some ways for these companies, but a very, very big step for us as a society and certainly for these animals.
This presentation is brought to you by Arizona State University's Julianne Wrigley Global Institute of Sustainability for educational and non-commercial use only.